Howdy of you delicious people. I'm here today to review Space Jam: A New Legacy. So, I'm going to have to break this down in a very simple way for people to understand it, because I think reasonably when I'm going to break down this film, people are going to be like, wow, this movie is wow. But I'm also going to want to help you understand here what I'm going to say about this movie, so that way you can eventually make a better consensus if you want to see this film. So, hear me out. One, this movie is actually a fun film, but also it's a vehicle to promote something. And that is not exactly something that would get me to want to see this movie again, or legitimately I'm just kind of disappointed in that angle that they are to go about this movie, to heavily try to promote the entire Warner Brothers catalog in this movie. Like, we don't even get to the actual basketball game until like an hour in, because there's so much that they have to consistently promote in this movie and commercialize and be like this giant bandwagon of just like, hey, if you guys haven't heard about Warner Brothers like since Ready Player One was a thing, then like you're going to basically get all this compiled nonsensical like promoting in this movie to just be like, man, we're just at a desperate attempt to just promote all of our stuff, all of our catalog of things, all in this one movie. And that is kind of just disgusting, in all honesty. Like, there does feel like there is times in this movie that they are just kind of burning time. Or there was one moment in this movie where I was just like, this movie is freaking just, wow, you're gonna pull that off? You're gonna freaking do a tease with people and tick them the F off? Man, that's a smart move. Uh, that is a smart move. And I hope to eventually get to that in spoilers, what their tease was. But reasonably, I don't think it'll probably be important enough when I go into spoilers, just because of how like garbage that whole scene was. But eventually, since it like bothered me, uh, like eventually I'll talk about it in spoilers, I hope, because it, like, a lot of this movie is just like, get to the freaking point. Like, was there to be basketball in this freaking movie? I do like the point that Bugs Bunny is to make the joke that they technically have done this before. Like, they aren't breaking new ground. They're just calling this a new legacy, even though Bugs Bunny is like, wink, 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 nudge, nudge. Like, we've kind of done this before. But they kind of go about this in a, like, different way, a different angle, which they really tie on to technology in this movie, where reasonably we don't just have some alien from outer space wanting to put together a basketball game. No, in this variation we are to have this technical thing called an algorithm, or algorithm, who is to just put together this basketball game because he needs to. Like, he just needs to just try to sell the Warner Brothers product again. I don't exactly understand, like, in all honesty, like, why this villain has to go about this. Like, he just this algorithm just needs to like suck in more content, and so hoping that like there's more people in this thing, the better, to suck in all of these people to eventually make something out of them. I don't know, but if anything, There's a ton of Easter eggs in this movie that people might be happy that there's certain things in here. There's going to be like a lot of people that are gonna be like, man, like I need to pause just right here to just see if I could find the Easter egg of where is freaking their Waldo technically. Uh, some people may like this movie just because it's to uh, be fun and like there's kind of this back and forth in me that is just kind of like, you know what, I hate this movie, but also like I can like see the good in it, I guess. But like to me, I'm probably never gonna watch this again. It has that kind of like, just why would I go into this again? Like I don't want to see the entire life story of LeBron James again. Like I know he's a famous basketball player. I don't follow basketball, but like, but if anything, in the very first Space Jam movie, like they didn't really like they went and did some kooky stuff or whatever to like showcase that it's like this is in like Toon World and that technically anybody should be able to do anything. But like I think reasonably in this film, like the monsters all have to have these like gimmicks or superpowers, like these technical monsters in this movie, these monstars, but they're called something different in here to just kind of say this is a new movie. Like they desperately try to like change a lot of things so it doesn't seem like the exact same film as before. There's some high techy things that go into here that is to be just like a basketball video game that you've probably seen, this and that and whatever, what have you. Uh, yeah, other than that, I guess this could just be considered a fun ride. They have to basically go through every single movie of the Warner Brothers catalog to eventually find certain characters, let's just say, and like that just kind of gets really just, man, you guys are just trying to sell something to somebody. You're trying to sell HBO Max or something. But I just didn't quite understand, like, what if a kid is to basically go and ask his mom and dad after seeing Space Jam: A New Legacy, like, hey, like, I really liked Game of Thrones thing. What is that about? And like the parents are gonna be like, yeah, like we can't like have our kids watch Game of Thrones. Uh, like after watching this because here's the thing, like immediately when I started watching this movie, I like immediately started to have that feel that I'm not the target audience for this movie. Even though it's like a family film, I felt like this is not like a movie for me. Like it kind of feels like this movie is to be for a younger generation or a like basketball fans or whichever. Uh, I was honestly just hands down just getting annoyed with LeBron James. Just man, his just dialogue delivery like would not change from when he was to be angry or when he was scared or when he was uh like joking around or what, like it was just like, dude, like man, we're really seeing the range of LeBron James. Because like I've seen him in other things and I thought like, man, like he's good in possibly other things, but not in this. Not in this. Really, also, we don't actually get LeBron James this entire movie. We get voice of LeBron James. So, like, that's why I kind of complained about this the most. Of just like, man, like, so we're not going to get like 100% LeBron James through 100% of this movie. And but people are supposed to be fine with that. People are to find it wacky or funny or whatever. But I'm just like, so like they basically like paid this guy probably a ton of money to not be in 100% of this film. Okay, sure. You didn't see Michael Jordan in the original Space Jam movie being in a portion of film. He was in the entire thing from start to finish. Jordan was in it, but whatever. They just severely have problems with being able to have a live action thing with CGI'd characters, and that becomes obvious in this movie. That it has to be either a CGI'd thing or it has to be like a live action thing, and like the two can't really all that well mix. But it seems like there is quite a bit of like a huge chunk of money sunk into this thing just to like when we get to the actual basketball part, I'm like, wow, like this audience looks really fun and really cool. You just see a barrage of just random characters that they just like put and slapped makeup on to be in the background of this. And I'm like, oh my god, like there's just like the sea of like audience members. Like we have because it's a marketing ploy to like we're seeing like Scooby and the gang in the audience. We're seeing the Mask in the audience. We're seeing like any number of just Warner Brothers IP in the audience, and then eventually we just have random like Joe Schmo people. Like we're seeing like the King Kong, the Iron Giant in the audience, and so on and so forth. Like basically every single who is who of the Warner Brothers IP is just like in this audience. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, there's sometimes we were just kind of questioning, like, okay, who is that exactly? But you're like, I don't care. So, but yeah, so really this movie becomes like a man against his son, which, like, that's like a father against his son, which I'm just like, okay, we're, like, here's the thing, like, this actor who is to play like LeBron James' son in this film is not actually his son. So it's just like, man, like we just had to try to like push and have a kid in here somewhere and have him like also like a big crux of this story. And so that's basically what they did. Like they made like LeBron James's son, Dom James, a kind of key factor into this movie. And so then, that's all I think I wanted to talk about this cryptically. I hope I feel like I didn't spoil this movie, but I also just wanted to just talk about certain things as well. Like to just kind of either get people excited because that's going to happen regardless, to just be like, wait a minute, like so and so character is in the audience, random, like I'm going to see all kinds of cool Warner Brothers things like Gremlins or some other things that are going to be like random things that are going to be popping into this movie. Man, that sounds awesome. But then again, I'll tell you, but yeah, the story though, like the story though, like the story is just to like, how can we promote something in here? And that's what this movie becomes, a vehicle to promote something. So with that said, you're going to get a thing that you like, a number of crap that you already know exists, and they're going to resell it to you. Like, who are these Looney Tune fellers? Could you like give me the entire history of Looney Tunes? Could you give me the entire history? Like, because you gave me the entire history of LeBron James from whence he was to be birthed to current day LeBron James. So how about you give me the entire backstory of Looney Tunes, just in case I'm not like, maybe I haven't seen Looney Tunes in a while. Maybe I need to get a refresher of who all these people are, because maybe I didn't see the original Space Jam movie. Like you need to give me every single backstory of everyone in the audience. You need to give me every single backstory of every time someone is going to pop into here. I need you to stop the film and give me the entire backstory of a random person like King Kong or the Iron Giant or any other thing. Like you need to give me every backstory. If you're going to spend the time of giving me the entire history of LeBron James, you need to even that out and like tell me the entire history of Looney Tunes also, because it just tells you like, well, who's the thing that they're going to be selling in this movie? Well, not only Warner Brothers, but they're also going to be selling you like LeBron James, which that's what a Wikipedia is for. But anyways, so let's go into spoilers in this one, because I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately bring up the teaser thing of this movie that I did not like, because it bugged the crap out of me. So it is spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time I'm going to spoil this movie. So, like, towards the tail end of this movie, Michael Jordan is to show up. And everybody's like, oh my god, Michael Jordan? Wait a minute, what? He's to be in this movie? At what? Playing basketball? Dunking buckets? What? No, it's Michael B. Jordan. They couldn't afford the money. After having all of this Warner Brothers IP, after having all of this crap in here, they have to tease Michael Jordan being in this film. Why do that? If it seems that they have an unlimited budget, I guess there's something that seemed very limited with them, like going and getting the one person and then teasing the crap out of it. Like, oh, this is Michael B. Jordan, not Michael A. Jordan. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. And also we have Bugs, who's just like, wait a minute, like, both of us are gonna have to go and play a basketball game? It's like, well, that's not like a familiar territory. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, basically, they're just recycling, like, the exact same kind of story in the first one, but they're doing it slightly different this time around. So, but let's get into it. Let's get into the very beginning of this movie. So, LeBron James as a young child, because we're going to tell the entire history of this entire man, and because we just need to. LeBron James is to be a young lad going and playing basketball at some random basketball game. And LeBron is to play a Game Boy with the Looney Tunes game in it. And LeBron is just like, man, I'm just going to be playing this. And so all of a sudden, LeBron just jumps up and just starts like going and playing basketball. And so after the game, the coach is just like, you know what? Like, I can tell you weren't focused. Like, I can tell you weren't, like, using the fundamentals. Like, I can tell that you, like, that basketball wasn't 100% your priority here. And, like, we're going to hear that kind of talk throughout this entire film, where LeBron is just like, hey, man, like, basketball, the most important thing. Like, if anything, like, don't be doing anything else. If you step into this court, you have to be having a ball in your hand and chucking it into the basket, because that's life. Like, if you go into a basketball court, you better just be bringing a basketball. Because if you bring anything else, like a volleyball or a soccer ball, like, your life is just not focused on b-balling. What kind of garbage is this? Who freaking, like, kids are just going out and just wanting to just play, and LeBron James is like, no, if you go onto a basketball court, you need to come here to win, and you need to come here to dunk, and you need to come in here and, like, treat this basketball court with respect. Yeah. For realsies, not for plays. Come on. What the is this? What is this? Anyways, moving on. So, if anything, Dom James, who is LeBron James's son, is desperately just wanting to play mobile games or to go to this E3 conventional thing. Which, when we can kind of see, like, at the tail end of this movie, when they actually do the E3 thing, I'm like, God, that just looks like they just slapping banners and like all kinds of stuff. You can just tell that this thing is just like they just grabbed a bunch of like the same logos and slapped it everywhere, and this kid is just walking in there, and it just felt like they rushed this job. Like it just didn't feel like they spent a lot of money towards the tail end of this movie, with the exclusion of the CGI or whichever. But anyways, so Dom is to be playing a game, like a basketball game that he put together. Like he's like 5 years old. No, he's like 12, 13, whichever. And he ended up putting an entire game together all upon himself. And so Dom just wants to play this game instead of playing a actual basketball game. And so we just have these silly or goofy moments where LeBron James's older son is to just get freaking pelted with Darius James is just getting like pelted with these basketballs as like, and bizarrely we have this like basketball thing that like shoots out whenever somebody calls like, hey, ball, and then all of a sudden this like thing just like fires out bizarrely as if there's some magical word that a machine is to just fire out a ball to them. But then all of a sudden this thing like starts to malfunction, and then like a kid just continues to get pelted in the head with a basketball and knocks him over. Because I guess that's funny, hilarious, whichever. But anyways, so this kid is just like, you know what? I just don't care about basketball. I want to go and like do my game. And so eventually LeBron James's wife, which wasn't exactly his wife in this movie, let's be honest, Camilla James is to tell LeBron, it's like, well, hey, you need to spend time with your son, or you're going to lose him forever. Maybe you should go and talk to him and like see what he's doing. And LeBron is like, you know what, I am spending time with our son. And Camilla's like, that's not what that means. Like, that's, like, you're not quite understanding what I'm grasping to you to just, like, you need to figure out what he likes kind of thing. Like, not figure out what you can push onto him. So, LeBron is eventually going and, like, seeing that his son is putting together this game. And so LeBron is just like, hey, man, like, I'm going to go and, like, I'm going to see what my son's doing, and he's making a game. Like, I'm going to go and play with him. And, like, I'm going to beat him at his own game. I'm just going to just start just, like, doing this whole thing and whatever. So, Dom is to put together this game, and bizarrely, it is to be of, like, style points. So every time someone is to shoot uniquely, it's like style points. And like, dude, that's like every single like basketball game in existence. That is to like, you can't just shoot a regular like basket. No, you have to be like 20 feet in the air, soaring, and like have the ball go in between your legs and go on like around your head, and then you just like whoa, look at me, I'm cool. And then you just go, oh, please, and then you have the basket go into you have the ball go into the basket, and then it's like, oh, style points. And so Dom is doing pretty well on style points, but then eventually there is some move that LeBron is to do with one of his guys that is to completely 100% crash this game, to where all of a sudden the algorithm is, or algorithm, is like finding out about Dom's game and is like, wow, like this kid has put together like something unique, but like I need to go and I need to try and get LeBron James to come and do one of our movies with us. Like we need to have like algorithm is basically like Warner Brothers, and so Warner Brothers executives are trying to get LeBron James to do some movie with them, and Algae Rhythm, who's basically Don Cheadle. Let's go with Al because this will be a lot freaking easier. So Al is to basically mention that LeBron James could be like animated into a movie, and that could be the selling factor of LeBron doing a number of films with Warner Brothers slash Algae Rhythm. Like mentioning how LeBron James could be like going and fighting Batman. Like Batman is in the fray, and like LeBron James is bizarrely Mr. Freeze, and so he's like shooting Batman with some freezing ray and taking him out. Uh, LeBron could be any number of like random like Warner Brothers characters that eventually they have the license for in this movie, and so on and so forth. And they're like, hey man, like what do you think? Like how about you be a part of like our movies? Like how about we just fuse you in as a digital character? And LeBron is just like, man, like this sounds fun and all, but you know what? I just don't think I'm really all that interested. Like, I just don't think I'm all that interested in becoming a digital character. I just don't. I'm not. So they're like, well, that's too bad, because if anything, we're going to sucker your son into here that is going to force you to eventually just become a person that is going to work with Warner Brothers anyways. So Dom is to eventually go with Algae Rhythm, and so Dom is to have Algae Rhythm kind of manipulate him into just be like, hey, like, if anything, like, I'm going to help you, like, get your game skyrocketed off. Like, Al is doing that. And so, really, like, Al is manipulating Dom to just be like, hey, like, if anything, I'm going to help you, or maybe, like, your father just, like, isn't. Like, maybe, like, your father just doesn't care about helping you. Maybe your father is just, like, I don't know, maybe he just, like, he doesn't get you kind of thing. So, because Dom is to mention that he crashed his game, and then it'll take a week to, like, build everything up, and Al is just like, what's a week? Like, no, like, if anything, I'm going to help you out right now, and then, like, we're going to get this thing back to where it was, like, this. So, like, come on, like, so that just manipulates Dom to just be like Algae Rhythm's like guy, and so that pushes LeBron James to eventually go after his son, finding out that this Algae Rhythm had basically kidnapped Dom, and so LeBron is searching after his son, and he winds up into the Toons world. And so now, all of a sudden, we start to have LeBron change from live action person to now animated person, because LeBron James has to do a number of things here. And so we do have Toon World, but we transition to a number of other worlds. Like, eventually, at some point, we have both like Bugs Bunny and LeBron James being Batman and Robin. Bugs Bunny is, of course, Batman, and LeBron James is Robin. And LeBron James is like, wait a minute, what? Like, I'm freaking Robin? Like, nah. Like, come on, man. I need to be Batman. But, and bizarrely, there is this one spot where all of a sudden this train is to get out of control. And so both Bugs Bunny and LeBron think that they need to stop this train. And all of a sudden you just kind of see, like, Superman coming off to the side. And so Superman goes and stops this train. And all of a sudden all the Justice Leaguers, like, appear. Where it's, like, Superman, Aquaman, and Green Lantern, and all the other people from, like, Justice League Unlimited, or Justice League, the series. And so this is like, ooh, wow, hey, I know these people. I know what he's talking about. Oh my god, this sounds exciting. You have this like funny enough, you had these like glimpses of Game of Thrones, but all you see is just the logo of Game of Thrones and a dragon that appears to just be like, "Hey, Game of Thrones, right?" That's all they can do because they can't do anything else because reasonably that's an adult like content, so they're just like, yeah, like we're really not gonna tiptoe our way into that. Plus, also, that whole thing is a live action thing, which I don't think they can easily do. Uh, there's some there's sometimes where you are to see like the White Walkers in Game of Thrones, like presented here randomly in spots, but like for audience stuff. But like all you see is just a dragon that appears for Game of Thrones. That's about it. Uh, Other spots. So eventually we go and have LeBron, who needs to get the Looney Tunes band back together, and has to go through every single catalog of stuff of the Warner Brothers to find a certain character. Like Lola is to be like inside the world of Wonder Woman 1984, where Lola is going through this obstacle course, like in the very beginning of Wonder Woman 84. And so that's when both Bugs and LeBron go and collect Lola, just like, hey, man, like, we need her. Uh, Eventually, we bizarrely have to have LeBron and Bugs go through the Matrix world to collect Granny and I think like Tweety Bird or Sylvester or something. Uh, we eventually have to go through Casablanca to go and collect Yosemite Sam, I think his name is. And we have to go through uh, like several other like titles to eventually go and collect these characters. I don't remember all. Oh, like I think we have to go through Austin Powers, the world of Austin Powers, to collect Elmer Fudd, who is to I guess look like Mini Me, bizarrely. Like there's so much about this that just seems so random, like as if they desperately need to sell everything of their catalog in Warner Brothers. Uh, Oh no, wait, maybe it's Granny and Speedy Gonzalez in that whole like Matrix scene. Yeah, I think it's Speedy Gonzalez. Because I think actually Daffy Duck is in the DC world because I think he is to like slap on a like superhero costume. So I guess they collect him there. Uh, but yeah, like I think there's like I think at some point that they end up collecting Roadrunner and Roadrunner and the BBB, the bird. I don't remember what his name is. Uh, like I know they collect them from somewhere, but I heaven forbid I remember what that all is because there's some stuff that are just dry spots. So pushing on here, so they go through the entire Warner Brothers catalog to collect all of these characters, and so pushing on. So like we have to wait about a decent like hour in before we even get to the actual like basketball game and why we're even doing this. And so we have Al G Rhythm who is to basically tell LeBron it's like, hey, like we're gonna put a basketball game together and there's gonna be stakes for all of this and so basically, if LeBron is going to lose, then LeBron is going to basically be in uh, algorithms like thing forever. And if LeBron is to win, then uh, the fate of the world will rest on LeBron's shoulders, I guess. Uh, and LeBron will be free to do whatever he wants. Like we also had an entire history of LeBron James that I'm not going to go into because why would I? It's called Wikipedia or whatever. I don't need to tell you the whole entire history of LeBron. Like there's one spot where he went to the White House and like he was like, "Hey man, like I made it because I went to the White House." Yeah, that's great. Who cares? Like anybody who's a celebrity, like, why should I have to know their backstory? I don't care. Like, if anything, I think they did the exact same thing to Michael, but like still, uh, I don't need to know who freaking LeBron James is. I don't need to know who Michael Jordan is. Like, these are the most like popular basketball players in the world. Like, you shouldn't have to like. That's what an entire Google thing is for. You just wanted to waste time, in all honesty, to just help us figure out who this guy is. He was in Miami Heat. He was in LA Lakers. He was in a number of other. Who cares? He was in a number of things. So what? Like, wow, who cares? Anyways, so pushing on to the more important things. So, like, because I want to get to the game. I want to get to the actual game of all this because, like, I think we've done enough with just going through all of this. All of this. So, getting to the game part. So, Don Cheadle is to have his people called the Goon Squad. It's not the Monstars. It's the Goon Squad. If we have the Toon Squad, we have to have the Goon Squad. Like, like, wow, how creative is that? So, so we don't have a special star that ends up coming in and helping these people out through any portion of this game. It's basically just rested on the fact that, like it was kind of funny how LeBron was thinking that he could go and take the entire Warner Brothers catalog and like come up with this like Mount Rushmore of certain characters. He's like, heck yeah, man! Like if I'm gonna be in the Warner Brothers catalog of things, like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pick these 5 characters. I'm gonna pick Superman. Like I'm gonna pick like Robot or RoboCop or whatever. I'm gonna pick like all these like random people. But he's like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna keep Superman. Like I'm definitely gonna keep that like guy. But like he just kind of comes up with these random consensuses of who he wants to be like on his Mount Rushmore team. But it's like, dude, you're just gonna end up with the Looney Tunes. Like, sucks to be you. So, so this game is to commence, and the algorithm character is to take from Dom that anybody who is to have been watching what Algae Rhythm is to be putting together here is probably going to easily be able to get sucked through this game because of camera on their phones or mobile devices or whatever. And we also have Al, who is to like say that Dom needs to actually be a player of this, and he needs to like have his own like design upon himself and so on and so forth. So what ends up happening is that we now have this basketball game that is to be started off, and like now we have to have an audience, and so we basically have the entire Warner Brothers catalog, all and plus also just random people that had gotten picked to be extras in this movie, all being audience members. We see like King Kong, we see like the Iron Giant, we see Gremlins, we see the Mask, we see random Game of Thrones people, we see like any number of Easter eggs or whatever that are to be provided in the audience to eventually just sell any number of things. And so we have like Scooby-Doo and the gang freaking in the audience somewhere. You mostly just see the mystery machine, but you don't really see much else. You can kind of see in the far off distance, you can kind of see like Scooby like and all the guys kind of like hanging onto the car, but like you aren't really like you can't really make out things all that well because this is like the budget of Warner Brothers. So anyways, so first this thing is to kick off, and so what ends up happening is we have the Goon Squad who are to basically be copy and pasting from actual basketball players that Dom had took the specs of from this All-Star game that Dom had went to with his father, and that had Dom just kind of fuse these characters into his game already. But all of a sudden now, like, these characters are being re-infused in this game as the Goon Squad, and so here's the layout. So we have one character who is to be called the Brow, who is to be this kind of like bird guy. We have one guy that is to be Wetfire. That sounds like a great name. Where this guy is to have the power of being able to turn into this liquid, but then also turn into this fire, just kind of like have people like get away from him. We have Kronos, who is to be a person that can control time, to where he can kind of like slow things down, and like he's basically like the Quicksilver, or like I guess I should come up with a Warner Brothers equivalent. He's basically like Flash, where he can like stop time and like shoot baskets and whatever. So like this guy seems to be a pretty big threat until like Granny eventually just takes him out of all people. And then we also have White Mambo or Mamba, which is to be uh, like a Snake-ish like character. And I think we also had one other character as well that was to be also because I know it exists. Like I think there was also a spider character, but I want to try to figure out what exactly that name was. Uh, because I know it's in here somewhere. Um, Let me pause here. Arachnia. There we go. Also there was a spot where we were to have like Rick and Morty in here, and like we actually had the characters actually like have some lines and like be used like in this spot here. Um, I guess using all their bigwig IPs, but like I don't think we had an actual like scene where like Rick and Morty like helped out the story or whatever. They were just kind of just there, and then they left quickly but surely. Anyways, so but back to the basketball game. So really, we are to kind of easily start to showcase these characters and to showcase their skills. Like the Wetfire was one of those where it's like, ooh, he's a big threat. And then like kind of the Brow character was just kind of there, I guess, for like comedic relief to just be this goofy looking character. Arachnia kind of does like things here and there, like takes the ball and like webs it up, and like also webs up like Sylvester. It's like, help me. So what ends up happening is that basically Dom's son is basically crushing this game in the very beginning of this, like really just whipping his dad, like just like bait, not literally, just metaphorically. Just like this kid is to be like, yeah, this is my game, and I'm showcasing why, because this kid knows every trick, this kid knows everything of what to do, where LeBron is just like like winging this, and he's not really understanding what all he's doing. He goes like flying off. Like in the very beginning of this, we eventually have LeBron James's family to be into the audience, and LeBron is going to want to run to them to like hug them or whatever. But eventually, there is a force field that is to be in a part of this game, which a lot of times like people are to just smack into force fields of stuff. So because I guess that's comedic relief for you. So, uh, so Dom is doing extremely well to the point of them also getting like a ton of just style points, and LeBron James is just like, style points? Like, come on. And like he just thinks that this is just a normal basketball game, but it's like, no, this is Dom's game. It's not LeBron James's game, because LeBron is just thinking that this is just like his normal territory of just being in a basketball game where he just has to like go and pass the ball around enough times, but every single time they have to give it to LeBron, because heaven forbid anybody else does any kind of real true point system out of here. So there are some funny moments where we consistently just have like there was this one funny spot where Arachnia is to go and like take this ball and put it into the basket, and it like bounces off of like LeBron James's face, and like she keeps continuing to reshoot it over and over and over and over again while it's still continuing to hit LeBron James in the face. So like I thought that spot was really funny, and also like there was some fun stuff to be with this goon squad. So like there was some cool spots that eventually we were to see this like wet fire character. They have to explain it to people like, oh man, like, and they have to really jazz it up. These two ring announcers or game announcers, where they're like, man, like these characters are so cool. What are you selling? Like, what are you trying to sell here? Because it feels like that. So like these Goon Squad characters are so cool compared to the originals, because they're not. They're really just not. Like if anything, it just kind of feels like I miss the Monstars. Like I miss them, because they were honestly a lot more fun than whatever these characters are. Even though like they are actual basketball players, and like that's cool, but I just liked the Monstars better. Like I think they had just a lot more funnier things to do in their movie than this one, where it's just kind of like goofy. I just didn't enjoy it as much. But anyways, so, and also the little aliens are actually showcased in the movie. The little aliens who became the Monstars, like there's a little Easter egg of them in the movie, and they're like, yeah, like they're just like, yeah, I'm in the background of some audience somewhere where I can probably barely see anything, but hey, we're here. So sadly enough, Danny DeVito and the one, that guy, like he's not in this movie, of course. So from what I remember, but who knows? There could have been Easter eggs of anybody anywhere, so it is what it is. So we also had like Batman and Robin from like 1966 in one of the audience, and I was like, yeah, hey, there's Batman and Robin from 1966. This is great. Like this is fun. From like just like I didn't even want to pay attention to the game anymore. I just wanted to pause and just look at Easter eggs because I didn't care about this movie at some point. So pushing on. So we have like this is a match, like it gets to the point where it's like 1,000 and something to like 37, and so now we're at like halftime where LeBron is just like, man, we're getting our butt whooped. And I was assuming that they were gonna go with some like magical bottle again, like they did in the Space Jam movie, but they didn't. But they try to get bizarrely motivated by showcasing Michael B. Jordan. And like LeBron is just so excited about Michael Jordan. He's like, oh my God, Michael Jordan. Oh my God, this is going to be great. And then it's Michael B. Jordan. And they're like, scram. Like, we don't want you here. Like, go back to Fan Four Stick or Black Panther or something. Like, go ahead and just do that. And the guy's just like, oh man, hey, yeah, like, LeBron, big fan, and like, like Bugs, big fan, yeah. Like, but I'm gonna get out of here because I can't like play basketball, evidently. So, and so they're like, yeah, not the Michael Jordan that we actually wanted. It's like, yeah, that's kind of obvious because evidently they didn't have the money for that, or for whatever reason. Like Michael Jordan couldn't actually be in this movie, so they had to tease you about it. So, if anything, LeBron is just saying, like, why can't we beat them? Like, we should be able to easily beat them. Like, if anything, like, you guys are Looney Tunes. Like, come on. And so they're like, yeah, we're Looney Tunes, but we can't be ourselves. If anything, we're all just trying to be like you because that's what you want, LeBron. And so LeBron is just like, well, wait a minute. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, you shouldn't be like me. You should be like who you are. And like that's what will get us this second wind, and like all you guys can do all this goofy stuff and distract all these like Goon Squad characters. And so yeah, like in the second half, we just have like all the Looney Tunes just doing all these like weird gimmicky things that are to try and stop all of these guys, and like it gets kind of fun. We have this one like uh like spot where like the Roadrunner and the Wile E. Coyote are, I hope that's right. I don't remember all these names for all the Looney Tune characters. We have a spot with them where they're going and they're like putting like this basketball in this machine that ends up multiplying these like basketballs, but then it accidentally like multiplies Wile E. Coyote, and then like all of a sudden like all these things are just pumping into this basketball hoop, and it's just either Wile E. Coyotes or it's basketballs, and so like evidently that was like crushing it with style points and whichever. And like there are like spots here that like people are kind of doing like things kind of fun, but I think there's also a lot of times where I was like expecting Lola to be doing something, and it feels like she's just a character that is just like a non-existent entity. Like it just seems like it's either LeBron or it's like somebody more important, because I guess they spent too much time with her in Space Jam, and so now like somebody else has to have their time. Bizarrely, also, we get to the point where Don Cheadle is grabbing some mic, and he's like, "Hey man, like you Toon Squad, like you guys are just like this and that, blah blah blah." So that gets to where all of a sudden this just bizarrely becomes 8 Mile bizarrely. And so Porky Pig has to all of a sudden come in there and start like spitting a fat beat, and just all of a sudden he's like beatboxing, and or he's just like throwing some shade onto Don Cheadle's character, and this bizarrely all of a sudden becomes a rap battle, a thing that I don't freaking understand, but that also gives them bizarre style points for Porky Pig, who I guess can't chuck up a basket, so he has to wrap up a mean beef against uh, Don Cheadle. And I didn't understand this part about this movie whatsoever. I was so I was like, what? Like this isn't even basketball. Like they're going out of their way to try to prevent us like doing and seeing basketball, because I guess we kind of covered everything in the other Space Jam movie, right? So we just got to do everything else but that in this film. So what ends up happening is they bring out this Kronos character that is to basically like pull off this like Flash thing, where he is to basically like take the ball and like humiliate all of his like his Toon Squad guys, and then just go and just toss the basket like it's nothing. Like Dom is chucking a thing of popcorn in the air thinking he's going to catch it, and he does. But Kronos is just like the easy like character that is going to get some easy fat points. And then so in the second half, Granny is going and changing Kronos's like dial to like speed up time to where he's 132 years old. And so then Granny goes and kicks the basket, and of course the basket goes in. Granny's like, "Yeah, like I did it." And it's like, "Yeah, like okay, like they're just trying to showcase other people that they probably didn't showcase in the other film, to just kind of like show them like try to do something for here." Like we barely saw Tweety Bird do anything cool, which I was kind of like mad about. Like I think we have Daffy Duck as just like a coach in this movie, which I was like, what is this? Like we just have him in a suit and he's just off to the side, just kind of like yay, hopefully you guys keep winning. So eventually all of a sudden like LeBron is just starting to see his son lose, and Al is starting to get on his team like nobody's business, just like heckling all of his team members, and just like, God, like why can't you guys all win? And also like there isn't enough bleacher for Al to sit on, so he's like, hey, can you guys scoot down so I can freaking have some room? So like just like this guy is like roasting like Dom and everybody, just like, dude, I thought that this was your game, like, and I thought you were gonna like beat your dad, but I guess like maybe your dad was right. And so all of a sudden that's like, hey man, like LeBron is just like, but yeah, that's still my son. And the main goal is LeBron is just like, I want to get my son back. I want to get my son back. And so LeBron eventually, towards a part of this movie, is to have the ball and he's bouncing it. He's like, dude, I want my son to guard me. Let's go. So Dom is guarding his father, and then Dom is and LeBron is just like holding on to the ball, and he's like, hey man, like let's have a heart to heart. Like if anything, like man, you're doing like this game is amazing. Like what you did is just amazing, and like whatever you want to do after this, like that's your choice, and like I just want you to know that I love you, and all this gushy stuff, and like they're hugging it out. And so all of a sudden, like we start to see that Dom is going to eventually change the Toon Squad side. He's still wearing the black hoodie, but he's going to switch his jersey to the Toon Squad and play with the Toon Squad now. And so like Algorithm is like, wait a minute, like he's one of ours, and it's like, no, not anymore. So like the kid had changed sides, and so all of a sudden like Algorithm is like, well, okay, well I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna play the rest of this thing then. And so Algorithm seems to be unstoppable. If there wasn't like the ref that was already like kind of rigging this thing anyways, we have Al coming in and basically being this unstoppable factor. Like, there's this one point where like the ref was to go and take the basket and like shift the basket to where the ball went into the basket for the Goon Squad, and LeBron is like, "What the heck, man?" And that happened like early in the game. But I just wanted to kind of just get any little tiny bit of things that happened in this movie. So LeBron is to eventually go and have to fight Al throughout this whole entire match, and it seems that Al is to like really just like make it to where like it's making it to be miserable for anybody to try to go up against Al or whichever. So, but like they eventually are to be pretty close like with this matchup. And so reasonably, they're just like, dude, we have like 10 seconds left, and we're almost we're almost going to win here. And so they decide that somebody needs to go in and perform this certain kind of glitching trick to eventually like crash this game, so that way like they can go in and put one last basket or one last ball into the basket and win this whole thing. So Bugs Bunny is to just be like, well, like I don't want LeBron to do this, so I am going to do this. So basically, it was supposed to go to LeBron to do this whole trick thing, but Bugs takes it instead, and then goes and does this trick thing to eventually just like hand it off, but it's not going into the basket. So LeBron goes and tries to make it to the basket, but we have Al who's slowing him down. So all of a sudden Dom is to say like, well, hey man, like if anything, there's this one spot where there could be like a jumping off point. So he takes the jumping off point from off the ground, tosses it to LeBron so he can jump in midair, and so he gets one last little bounce of something. And then like we don't have the outstretched arm like Michael Jordan did before, because we have LeBron who isn't doing much of anything loony like Michael Jordan did in the other movie. So LeBron just does this and then like bounces off, and then Al's like, wait a minute, that's cheating. But like the ref doesn't call it. And so LeBron dumps the basket, and so we bizarrely have both LeBron and Al, who all of a sudden turn into this bizarrish like card, like basketball card of just like, hey, this is like the last photo finished thing. and Al is all of a sudden stuck in this card, and so like everyone is to like they are to win, things are to happen, and so basically everyone is to be able to go back to where they were, and so eventually LeBron is to eventually go back to uh, being where he was, which is at this little like this Warner Brothers studio executive thing, and then they all walk off, and so the very tail end of this movie is to have LeBron go with his son to not this basketball tournament. Instead, he takes him to this E3 thing, and it's like, hey man, like go in there and just like show him your game. And so LeBron is just asking for his kids like basketball, and Dom goes, you know what? Like I think I'm gonna go and do both. Like I think I'll go and keep this basketball and go to E3. And LeBron is just like, that's my son, kind of thing. And so LeBron walks off with Bugs Bunny, who is to just pop out of nowhere and just be like, oh yeah, Bugs Bunny didn't die, like what they were kind of playing to, because like Bugs Bunny is freaking Bugs Bunny. He's the most iconic Looney Tune character. They're gonna try to just end him? No, like if anything, Bugs Bunny is probably just gonna be a little glitchy, but like he's not like he's basically gonna be the guy that's still gonna be like there forever and just be like, that's all folks, because if anything, like Bugs Bunny had to be the one Looney Tune to bite the bullet just because of him being the most iconic one. It's not all of a sudden that like Daffy Duck is gonna like it's just thrust on his Toon Squad suit and just be the savior of all this because he probably should have been. But yeah, so like that's the way this movie just fades into black and so on and so forth. There is no end credit scene to this movie, which I was just kind of like, okay, like you probably could have done an end credit scene, but I guess they didn't really care. It's like, dude, we spent enough enough money with this movie that we're not going to do an end credit scene. Like to allude that there's going to be like a sequel or Algorithm's going to come back or something. Because I'm assuming that's probably what the sequel is going to be. Like, Algorithm is going to come up with some kind of way to come back or some goofy thing. But yeah, so I try to talk about this movie as much as possible, but then again, I also feel like I left out a ton of stuff out on the floor. So really, in some way, like there's too much to cover in this movie, and so also I didn't want to take like 3 hours to talk about this either. So with that said, I feel good about this review, but then again, I also feel like I'm also going to be leaving a ton out. So with that said, that's my review. So I'm going to get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.